Hey, my name's Adam. I'm the technology teacher here at Hillcrest School, and today I'm going to walk you through how we print on our wide format printers. So we are lucky here at Hillcrest to have two different wide format printers. So what is a wide format printer? Sometimes it's also referred to as a plotter printer, and you can kind of see them behind me here. Essentially what it is an oversized desktop inkjet printer. So this will allow us to print a number of things. And what's really exciting about this is that the size is nice and big, obviously, for things like poster and banner printing. Another really fantastic aspect of these printers is that they allow different mediums, so the different types of paper that can be used. So some of the more common sorts of paper that we will use on these printers would be something like a thick cardstock matte, meaning no shine or gloss. We might use glossy photo finished paper, right? Again, nice and thick as well. We can print, of course, on just kind of plain paper that's a little bit cheaper. It can even do things like peel and stick vinyl, so that's pretty neat, as well as banner, like outdoor, like vinyl banner material, and even sort of canvas-esque medium. So those different rolls of paper are all out in the market. We have usually in stock at least glossy photo, cardstock, and plain paper. The unique thing about wide format printers is that they use typically rolls of paper instead of what we're used to in terms of 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper or 8.5 by 14-inch letter and legal size paper. So when you're printing on a roll of paper, it's a little bit different. And here's what a roll of paper comes to us looking like. So again, this thing is 24 inches wide, so 2 feet wide. They talk about the core. The core of this one is 2 inches, and that's an ideal size core, and that'll make sense in a moment. So those are the styles of paper that we have. And so it's pretty straightforward to print. That's what we're gonna show you in a moment here. So I'm gonna take out a piece of the printer, the roll of paper that is already on, and you'll see what it kind of looks like. So here's what the roll of paper looks like mounted, okay? And it's pretty straightforward. So when you want to change printer paper, usually I'll leave sort of the cardstock in one printer and the glossy in the other. So that way we have the ability to not have to change the paper every time. You know, it takes a few minutes to do this, not a big deal. So essentially what you want to do is when you want to change your paper, on one end, we have a small locking switch here. Okay, you can see that. And all we have to do is unlock it. Once it's unlocked, so there's locked and unlocked, you'll see there's a little icon in there. This whole unit pulls off, okay? And then we're left with the roll of paper on this roller. And I'm gonna actually change the paper right now anyway. So what we have now, this is the cardstock. The roller that you apply to, they all have, well, it tells you right or left. So that means it has to go on the right side of the roll, and then the roll is coming from the top. It has to be done that way every time. As well, these are interchangeable. Both printers, although they're different models, they both use the exact same type of hardware inside in terms of mounting the roll of paper. So what we can do is simply slide this on, and we want to get it nice and tight, okay? So I like to kind of hold it up like this. It gets it nice and tight. I can actually wind the paper a little bit from here. Great. And then what we're going to do is once the paper is on, I can then take the other part. And again, this side, it doesn't say left on it, but this is the left side. I'm gonna slide this with the blue locking mechanism into the roll. You can kind of see that, that's gonna go in. And again, nice and tight, so give it a little bit of pressure. And then because it's really important that it's nice and tight on both ends so that it feeds correctly. And then I can go ahead and lock it. And now I'm going to place this back in my back in the printer. And I'm going to show you how to feed the paper in. And just for the record, right now we have, again, there's two printers here. The one on the right-hand side, looking at the wall closer to the teacher desk, is the Canon TM240. And the model back here is the Canon TA20. Again, I'm going to walk through really quickly what you need. If you have your own laptop and you would like to print on either of these printers, if you have your own personal laptop with admin rights, you can actually download the printer drivers and the little piece of software you need to print, totally free, pretty straightforward on Canon's website. So I'm going to pause here, and on the next bit, we're going to see how to load the paper. So This is the Canon TM240. Again, I have put stickers on both of these printers identifying which model they are, okay? And another one to talk about how to download the 2 pieces of software you'll need. So you need drivers if you're gonna do this on your own, and then the Free Layout Plus. On the TM20, this unit opens up right here, and inside we have the adapters. If we ever need to do it, this would adapt from the 3-inch core to a 2-inch core, but hopefully we won't have to do that too often. So now we can literally take this printer paper, we're gonna slide it in. It'll actually walk you through how to do all this on these screens. It's a pretty good, it tells you pretty specifically what to do, but essentially I'm just gonna pick this thing up, okay? And it kind of slides in nice and gently. And then there is a locking switch over here on both of them. They're both pretty similar, okay? So you lock that on place. And next, we have to look at feeding the paper in to the actual printer itself. So down and in. As the printer turns on, again, it'll give us more instructions, and we'll wait for that to come fully on, and I'll show you how to feed it into the printer. So now that the printer's totally turned on, we can see on the screen here, it's saying, hey, there's no paper. Obviously, we can also see our ink levels here. I do my very best to keep those loaded up. So we can go ahead. If I actually flip this switch down, it's going to start giving me the instructions, right? So that's the nice thing about these printers. They're pretty user-friendly in that way. And if you're ever stuck, just stop. But so I flip that, and now to load it, I can quite literally just start feeding it in to the printer itself. So we get it prepped up. A little bit tricky to do with a single hand here, but that's okay. And once I start feeding it in, once it goes far enough, the printer will detect that I'm sending the paper in. And on the screen here, the screen will say, oh, paper detected. And what it's going to do next is try and pull, it's going to try and pull the paper in and make sure that it's lined up correctly. So it starts doing its thing here, okay? And now it wants to know what type of paper it is. Again, it's important to set this up because the ink will be printed differently based on the type of paper that we have in here. So for this one, plain papers is good. And I can put in, this one's a heavier weight. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to coated papers actually. I'll go to coated papers, and this is 170, so it's matte. So it's the 170, that's just the overall weight of the paper. Like the difference between standard letter paper or Xerox paper and cardstock, for instance. So now it'll kind of feed it in and out a couple of times to make sure it's not like misaligned in any way, because obviously that needs to be perfect. Sometimes it'll actually slice or cut a little piece to make sure it's square. That's normal. And once it's loaded, we're pretty much ready to jump on a computer and send a print job. So in order to print, we can see here we're all good. It's loaded, we're happy days. I can flip that lid close, doesn't matter. So on the Canon TM40, there's a USB cable, really important. Sometimes I have it plugged in my computer, but I did my best to identify them. So this cable will come to the laptop sitting on top of the laptop cart, okay? And the cable, the printer cable for the TA20 is located right behind it. So I'll do my very best to leave that cable either connected to the laptop here, hanging on the wall, or in this laptop. So on this laptop, all we have to do is plug that USB cable in, okay? And we can go ahead and turn this computer on. So this would presume you're ready to print your poster, right? You're ready to go. You went in Canva, you created a custom poster, maybe 18 inches by 24 inches, maybe 24 inches by 36 inches. And then you're going to need to put that, download that image in PNG format or whatnot onto a USB stick and bring it to this laptop. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Okay, so now that the computer's turned on, we're good to go. This computer is not connected to the internet. I kind of set it up to be a kind of permanent fixture to be used with both of these printers. It's just the easiest solution I could come up with. So you'll need to put whatever image, okay, PNG, JPEG, PDF on a USB stick, okay, and come on over. We're gonna pop it into the computer, and then there's two things we need to do. We need to grab our image off our USB stick, and we need to use the Free Layout Plus. So this is the little special software that's really important because we're printing on a roll of paper. A roll of paper is very different than printing on a normal 8.5 by 11 sheet of letter paper. And when you're talking about things like landscape and portrait, it's really important to use this software so you can visualize what it looks like on the roll. So a couple things you'll need need to do, you have to decide which printer am I going to be printing from, two rather. So the 240 is on the right-hand side, the TA20 is on the left. And if you pull this down, you could see both here, that's great. So I'm gonna say the TM240 because that is the one that we selected. Okay, plug the USB cable into. So select that. I prefer most of the time to do fixed layout. I find that's the correct one to use, and I'll show you why. The first thing you have to do though is load the image you want to print. So I'm going to click select file. I will go to my USB stick right here. I like to change my view to extra large icons so I can actually see what I'm looking at. Okay. And these are some cool nature shots that one of Gerard's students actually took. And I'll find one here as kind of a cool picture, let's say of a fox. So it'll load. The image is going to load. You can actually print 5, 10, 50, like as many as you want at a time. The cool thing about these printers, there's a cutting blade that will actually cut. So say I wanted to run 10 different pictures off or posters or whatnot, it cuts every time. So I set it and forget it, and that's great. So you have to make sure that it is selected right here, okay? Because if I don't have it selected and I click fixed layout, it's gonna say, hey, you didn't select anything. So this way I can load in, it's gonna try and prompt me to do that, but I could click this, I could click fixed layout. Now it's going to place what it's going to look like on the roll of paper. That's the important thing here, because again, landscape and portrait, right? It's kind of hard on the head. Sometimes you have a print job that has to be a very specific size to fit a frame or a specific spot on the wall. If that's the case, then not touching anything right here should be good, okay? If you specifically designed your poster or whatever your project was to be a very specific size, once it's loaded in here, you shouldn't have to change a thing. You're gonna have to cut, but you shouldn't have to change a thing. For me, I like to often though, if the size doesn't matter as much, I like to maximize the paper, because right now we're gonna waste all that paper. By and large, this paper costs about $1 per foot, so there's a real cost to it. And so what I'm going to do is, a couple of the things I almost always like to do, I like to go for borderless printing because this can print edge to edge. And now that's going to change the orientation a little bit. So now you see the roll of paper and it'll tell you the specific size this is now going to be. So 24 inches wide by 30 inches tall. So that is 2 feet by almost 3 feet tall, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Now that's a really large poster. That's like the size of what you'd see at the movie theater. 80% of the time, I like to print it this way, and that maximizes the paper. It's a nice, happy medium size. And all I have to do that, so I did my borderless printing, but now I'm gonna do this one where it says fit long side to roll paper width. And what this does is it rotates it, maximizes it, and I have zero paper waste, which I love. Again, it doesn't matter, the only time to use this is if it doesn't matter too much about the exact size. So now if I come over here, I could see that the height is 19 inches tall. So that's, you know, a little bit under 2 feet. So a little bit under $2 worth of paper. And then the width is obviously 24. Awesome. There's a couple of the settings you could play with, but those are the ones that I typically go with. Then you simply click next. Okay. And this is your chance to change anything. If you want to change it to monochrome, you can, but I don't. And this will allow you to change the print priority in terms of what it is, an image, almost always image for us, and then print quality. Again, if you're gonna frame this and it's gonna be something that's gonna be hung on a wall for years and years and years, you might wanna go high. For most things, standard is fine. And then yeah, that's your opportunity to choose more print copies if you wish. And then you can literally just hit print, okay? And I have to hit okay one last time. So now the data is going to send from the computer through my USB cable into my printer, and now I'll be able to see my printer. You can see the flashing light means that the data is coming, and now you can kind of hear it probably get warmed up and get started. Okay, the roll is rolling, and now you can actually see inside here the print head starting, and it'll even tell you how much time is left. So there's about 6 minutes left on this print. So we'll let this go, and we'll come back to do the final product. And after the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, again, depending upon the complexity of your image, if there's a lot of white space, it'll go a lot faster. The setting best, standard, fast is going to impact the speed in which it goes as well. So the print jobs are typically, they come through, here's what the cut looks like, and this is totally normal. If you send off 10, 20 prints, you're gonna have 10 to 20 of these. Every time it processes, it cuts it to make sure the paper is straight. That's just garbage, no big deal. It's a little bit of waste, and if we pull out and let it, I like to let it dry for at least a minute or two before touching it, because there's a chance of smudging. This is wet ink, but when it's all said and done, this is a poster printed pretty darn quick. And this is a beautiful photo that, again, one of Gerard's students took. But you can see pretty quickly how easy a lot of this is and how quick you can do it. So combine this with your skills in Canva and other things, away you go. You can also print off things like PDF and Word documents. If you had a mind map or you had a graphic organizer you wanted to blow up, that too will print really easily. And you just upload it, it converts it all for you. You don't have to do anything. So hopefully that answers a lot of questions and gets you up and running with doing some wide format poster printing.